So for the transition to the township, you were what grade were you in?
Seventh.
Seventh grade. So you went to White Pine.
I went to White Pine. Yep.
So what was that like transitioning then? Do you remember like being
Um,
sad you had to move and everything like that?
oh, I can guarantee that all the issues I caused my mother during my teenage years was because I held resentment against her for taking her away from my friends. But
Wow.
um I I've never had a problem, and that was obviously the very first time I would ever have an opportunity to be at a place where I knew absolutely nobody.
Yep.
Nobody.
Yep.
Not one person did I know.
Mm-hmm.
The transition immediately was smooth. I mean, I'm a sociable, personable person.
Mm-hmm.
So it was smooth right at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But I got there in October.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was October, November, actually, something like that. And it was okay. I made friends really fast with some girls. But probably a few months in, earlier in the following year, so maybe January, February,
Mm-hmm.
there was some issues that I wasn't aware of with a group of Mexican girls. I'll say
Okay.
Hispanic because I don't even know if they were all
Yeah,
Mexican.
you
They
don't
probably
even
thought
know,
they were.
right? Yeah, that's what
Right.
I was saying. We used to
So
say
a
Mexican all the
gr-
time.
well, they all called themselves Mexican. And I'm like,
Yeah, they all
there you
call
go.
themselves Mexicans. Yeah.
Do you really know if you are? You look
Yep.
Filipino. Are you sure?
You look Filipino.
but, but the Hispanic girls, right? They had some beef with these white girls, right? And
Yep.
these Hispanic girls, they were not small girls. Like they could probably take some of these white girls, right? And I didn't know. Again, I grew up in a way that diversity was just so normal to me. So I'm still trying to, you know, manage this situation in my mind emotionally, what's going on here, and how I feel about life. um I had gotten involved. I had a young woman, a classmate of mine, a friend of mine, who was emotionally upset one day, and I had asked her why. We were at lockers in the what we would know as the seventh grade building, right
Yeah.
at White Pine.
Yeah, yeah.
And she was crying, and she had said that she was being kind of tormented and teased and bullied. We didn't say the word bully back then when
Mm,
we were growing up. Bully was
mm,
not the word we used.
mm.
But nowadays it would be called bullying.
Yeah.
And I remember vividly just looking over at the group of girls who were like snickering at her. They were kind of
Mm.
throwing things at her too. And I
Wow.
just said, I go, it probably would be best if you just probably picked on someone like your own size, like
Mm-hmm.
somebody worthy of an opponent for you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And unbeknownst to me, that just puts a target on my back. And
Mm.
so for probably almost a year or maybe 8 months or so, I got into three fights.
Oh,
Three fights.
wow.
Yeah. And it was bad. It was
This
very
is
bad.
still seventh grade. Oh, seventh
This is
into
still
eighth grade.
seventh grade.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Seventh grade. It's my first year there. My parents are wanting me to have a great life in the township,
Yeah.
moving me from the city. And I'm getting into fights. I'm getting into fights with these girls. And I didn't start these fights, but I definitely didn't back down from these fights,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and it was, when I think back now, at the time, I was just very angry. I think that one of the reasons I probably didn't back down was the anger I had for having to move to Saginaw Township. And I was just angry that these girls would treat these other girls the way in which they were, that they were being mean to them. I just wasn't used to that. I never had that where I grew up. I just hadn't experienced it yet. And who's to say I wouldn't have experienced it at South? I don't know. Right.
Yep, exactly.
But right, but here I am, I'm angry about moving. I'm angry I don't have my friends. I'm angry that these girls think that it's okay to do what they're doing to these other girls. And um and I didn't it didn't bother me if I was taking the target off of them. because I thought I could handle myself, right? I
Mhm.
mean, these girls clearly were not equipped. They were just so emotionally distraught all the time about it, and I'm over here, bring it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
this is
yeah.
where my class is. I'll be over here at 5 o'clock. You be, I'm
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
whatever. But it got really bad. The girls started like they didn't even live. They lived like on Waterside. They lived at the
Okay,
northern
way
part
on the
of
other
the
side. Yeah,
township.
right.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they would purposely miss their bus and they would start following me home. Oh yeah, they followed me home. Do you remember Tiffany Doxy?
I know the name. Yes.
Tiffany was my best friend at the time.
Yeah.
Um, and we would walk home and these girls would be following us. They would have chains, padlocks, and there'd be like five, six, seven of them. And it'd just be me and Tiffany, and she'd be freaking out. They used to
So it
call
was
my
the
dad
kind of
Chief.
just you.
It was just me. Yeah. Tiffany was not having it. She's like,
Yeah.
we got to call your dad. And I'm like, no, I don't need to call my dad. Let them do what they think they're going to do. In my mind, I'm thinking at the time too, like, do they really think they're going to use these? Right. In my mind,
Yeah.
I'm thinking, are you just trying to scare me? Because really, are you really going to use these things? But um, we had at one point, the very last fight I got into, it was eighth grade. I had gone to the homecoming game at Heritage.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with Tiffany again. Tiffany always felt like when she was around, it was just not good. She's like, how are we getting into this? But um, I got into a fight there, and it was like my third fight. And my mother was waiting in the parking lot. It literally happened as we were walking to the parking lot after the game. And when the fight was over, I go to the car. Somebody finally breaks it up, I'm assuming. We go to my mom's car. Tiffany is pert near hysterical. She's freaking out, telling my mom, and my mom is so pissed, so angry. She drives immediately to the police department. And I'm
Wow.
thinking, yeah, and I'm thinking in my
Right
head,
across the street,
what
basically, right?
right across the street,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, what are they gonna do? We're kids. What are they gonna do to us, right? How are they gonna make this stop? I'm thinking to myself, this is gonna go on forever until they leave. Like that's
Oh
how I'm feeling.
man. Wow.
Oh, it was horrible. When I think